Hello, welcome to Alpengeist Fan 08. Today, I'll be reviewing one of the most famous wooden coasters in the world, the Voyage at Holiday World. This coaster is considered a top 10 coaster in the world by many fellow enthusiasts. Most people say it's a top 5 wooden coaster in the world. But do I agree with this? Before you find out, I'd like to give 2 shoutouts. The shoutouts are to Downhill Adrenaline and G Money TSM. Now, let's get into the review. First category I'll be talking about is the stats category. The Voyage has great stats for a wooden coaster. It is 159 feet tall and 67 miles per hour. Plus, it's the second longest wooden coaster in the world. It will get a 3.25 out of 4 for this category. Next up, we have the drop category. Voyage has about an average drop. Some people say this drop is better than most B&M Hyper drops. I disagree. It's still a decent drop, however. It will get a 5.5 out of 8. Next up, we have the intensity category. The Voyage is very intense for a wooden coaster. The 90-degree banks are very forceful, and the ride has great laterals at some points. It will get a 9.25 out of 10 for this category. Next up, we have the airtime category. Voyage apparently has 24 full seconds of airtime. I really don't believe this, because, to me, I didn't really get much airtime. Some people say this ride has crazy ejector. Sadly, all I got was weak floater. I really want to give it a high score for this category. I feel like at Hollywood Nights it would get a much higher score. Based on my rides, it gets a 4 out of 10 for this category. Next up, we have the fun factor category. Voyage is pretty fun, especially because of the location and the tunnels during the ride. It will get a 7.75 out of 9 for this category. Next up, we have the theming category. Voyage doesn't have much theming. It really doesn't. I feel like they could have done better with the theme for this coaster, given that it is themed after the Mayflower. Unfortunately, it kind of fails. It will get a 0.5 out of 5 for this category. Next up, we have the Restraints category. This ride has the standard PTC restraints. These restraints are decent. They do staple pretty easily, however. They will get a 5.5 out of 8. Next up, we have the Smoothness category. Voyage isn't the smoothest coaster out there. I believe their other 2 wooden coasters, Legend and Raven, are both smoother. This ride is quite rough. Sometimes I like the roughness on wooden coasters. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of the roughness on Voyage. It isn't as rough as Wildcat at Hershey Park, but it is still pretty rough. It will get a 4.5 out of 9 for this category. Next up, we have the location category. The Voyage is in a fantastic location. It is surrounded by beautiful trees, and the ride uses the terrain to its advantage. The ride will get a 6.75 out of 7 for this category. Next up, we have the layout category. The Voyage has an absolutely amazing layout. One of the best layouts out there. It is almost perfect. It will get a 9.75 out of 10. And now we have the overall score. The Voyage gets a 56.5 out of 81. When we base this out of a factor of 10, it gets a 7 out of 10. That is a good score. However, that is definitely lower than my personal score. For my personal score, the Voyage gets a 9.2 out of 10. This coaster, to me, is definitely overrated. I do not think that this is a top 10 coaster in the world. It currently ranks as my number 8 coaster out of the 62 credits I have. Most people would say this is about number 8 in the world, and I say it's my personal number 8 that I've ridden. Is it a great ride? Yes. Is it my favorite wooden coaster I've ridden? Yes. Is it a top 50 coaster in the world? Well, maybe. As you may know, sharp ejector is my favorite coaster element. This coaster doesn't have any sharp ejector, therefore it isn't my number 1. Maybe this ride would have ejector at Hollywood Nights, but I didn't get any. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. For now, Alpengeist Fan 08, out.